Get the power to do more with Storable software. More automating, more control, more revenue, more time back in your day. Storable helps operators do more with the most powerful technology in self-storage. Learn more at storable.com/do more.
Alrighty, let's get going. So my name is Matthew Beal. I'm a product marketing manager here at Storable, and I am the host for the 4-operator webinar series, of which today is a part of. And I wanted to start with a quick, overview of our webinar series so far. So 2 weeks ago, we continued our conversation on the topic of optimizing your marketing spend, which is one of the 4-operator imperatives we've been discussing. And specifically, we discussed the topics of listings and reputation management. And I was joined by David Hepworth, who is the director of sales at Podium. And he's very uniquely equipped to be able to discuss this concept, that as more and more customers are shopping online, your digital reputation is one of the best tools that you have to establish credibility with customers who are shopping for storage. And so if you missed that, I'd recommend giving it a look. If you go to blog.storable.com, you can find all of the past recordings of our webinar series. But today we're very excited to be hosting another operator roundtable to finish our discussion on the topic of optimizing your marketing spend. And we've heard from you guys time and time again that these sessions, these operator roundtables, are some of your favorites. And so we're really excited about today's panelists. They both carry with them an incredible amount of industry knowledge, but also just a wealth of creative insights specifically into how they've kind of led their respective companies through the COVID-19 health crisis. And so a lot to come on that conversation momentarily. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to be starting a new chapter of our 4-operator imperatives webinar series on a discussion on rethinking the tenant experience. And the idea here is that, the needs and preferences of your customers have already been shifting over the last few years, more and more towards a digital shopping experience. But make no mistake about it, the COVID-19 health crisis is rapidly accelerating those trends. And so we're going to be discussing all of the tools and the best practices that operators have available to them to meet those evolving consumer needs. But I do want to jump right into today's conversation. As I mentioned before, we have a couple of great panelists joining us today. And so I want to introduce Chuck Gordon, the CEO of Storable, who will then introduce our panelists. So Chuck, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. We're super excited to have Raheem and Melissa back with us today from Devon Self Storage and Storage Asset Management, respectively. Thank you both for joining. So I think we've got a lot of stuff to cover today, and Raheem and Melissa have prepared and brought with us some examples and actual slides we can look at too through this discussion. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm curious, first question for you guys, have you noticed any changes in customer shopping or engagement preferences recently? And I guess the big one that everyone's always talked about is, what % of people are actually renting online? What are you guys seeing with that recently? Melissa, why don't we go to you first?
Yeah, so during the spike of COVID, the April, May area, we saw about 22% of our rentals were completely done online. Right now, that's sort of shifting back to like the 15% that we experienced last year. Last year, we ended the year around 12% of all of our rentals were online. So we're seeing about 15% right now. And then we're seeing definitely more traffic to our websites as well.
Interesting. Raheem, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. When going into February, we were doing about 5% online rentals. And then immediately after COVID, we saw it jump into the 40 to 50% range. At this point, we're hovering around the 48% range.
Got it. And I'm just curious, you guys, what % of those do you think are actually finding you online, renting online, never talking to a person at all versus they've made a reservation and then they get there and the manager tells them to go do it on their phone or any other situation that's like that?
That's a good question. I think there's a shift that's happening, right? So it depends on the website that you have. There are websites that are not customer interactive. They're not working with the customer in mind. And those, I think, struggle a little bit because your customer's asking you in the buyer's journey, they're looking to answer questions. And if your website's not designed to help answer those questions, you'll get a bigger bounce rate. And if you're not keeping track of your bounce rates and trying to address those things, that's where you're losing potential customers and traffic that's coming to your website and not turning into leads. We've sort of shifted that. We saw that happening. We saw a lot of our customers shifting to online. They're not making phone calls, or they're trying to make a phone call and they're trying to get to a manager trying to answer questions. So having a call center is imperative. So that way, if your manager is busy with another customer, is doing the lease, is out on the property, somebody is there to answer those questions. And then for those customers that are millennials and they don't want to talk to anybody, they just want to chat, we created a chatbot feature that's, we partnered up with ZeroTalk. It's a chatbot feature that's doing really good, and they sort of designed it for the storage industry. It's helping move that conversation along at a very, very fast pace. And it's conversational based. It's low cost, and it's driving that traffic to become a reservation or a rental. And that way our managers can get back to that customer and turn them into a lead.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chuck, to answer your question of actually doing the full online rental, I think the majority of that percentage I gave is doing the full online rental. And again, the same with Raheem, like we took a hard look at our unit tables, make sure that our pricing makes sense, it's user friendly, added a chat function as well. So all of that, again, goes into the whole making sure that the online rental process is easy, created a video that customers can see how to actually do the process as well if they get stuck. But I think the majority of them are actually doing it without any contact with the facility.
Got it. That's great. So kind of related, I guess, how has your thinking on marketing budgets and investments changed as a result of everything we've learned in the last few months? And have you made any adjustments to the different channels you're using? And Raheem, why don't we go with you first on this one?
Sure. The first thing we noticed is everybody invests in Google Ads, making sure that we saw a big shift in when customers were coming online and doing their research. Since they're working from home, we saw a big shift. Before, it was between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. is when you saw a lot of traffic coming to your website, and now we're seeing a shift. There's a early morning traffic, there's late night traffic that's coming. So you want to make sure that your Google Ad spend is happening at the right time. You don't want to be spending it at odd hours and your budget is already dry for the day before your customer traffic is actually hitting it. So that's one thing that we did. Then the next thing is, again, just making sure that if their customers are coming at odd times of the day to your website, we have a system that collects that information and also is able to talk back to them, right? So that's where that chatbot feature came in. If a customer communicates through text, through Facebook Messenger, through Google, we're able to have a chatbot that pops up, ask them if they're a current customer, if they're looking to rent a unit, or is it something else, and then takes that conversation forward instantaneously. One of the things that we noticed back in February is that we had a call center that was handling our web chats, and there was almost a 2 to 3 minute delay between answers that a customer would get. So customers would get frustrated where they're asking a question and then they're waiting for 2 minutes, 3 minutes before a response comes back. Then they ask another question. I think we've all experienced that depending on which website we go to. So with the chatbot feature, it's made our customers extremely happy. And for us, one of the biggest things that we have seen is that we were getting anywhere from about 2 to maybe 3 chats on a daily basis. And now we're seeing almost 27 chats every day that are coming through. Out of those 27, I'd say about 10 to 12 are sales related. In other words, these are customers that are asking questions on how to become a tenant from us, right? So they're asking, hey, do you have this size unit? Hey, do you have a senior discount? Do you have a military discount? If I pay this, when can I move in? So they're asking a conversational question, and that chatbot feature that we have is an AI model, so it learns from itself, and then it starts answering those questions as it goes forward.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really, really cool. And so, Melissa, how about on on your side of things?
Yeah, same thing. We added a chat function as well, and it seems to be doing good. The other things we've added too, I talked about upgrading the unit tables, making the verbiage and pricing very customer friendly. We also have a cart abandonment, so if someone starts to fill out the rental but doesn't complete it, but they've gotten some sort of contact information in, the manager gets the email and is able to follow up that way as well. Matt has the Facebook on the screen right now. So we've been doing Facebook ads for years, and we've really just turned again, and I think Raheem was going to talk about this, we made them educational, how to actually do the contactless rental online, and just make sure that they are advertising all of the things that we're doing and driving them to the online rentals. Again, same thing, telling them what we're doing, that we care about the customers, and that they can take advantage, of a 30-day free rental for the new customers. We did this in April and May to be able to drive to the contactless rentals again. So, and then because we were doing Facebook before and the Google pay-per-click, and we also looked at bid adjustments per time, et cetera, but we also started testing Bing ads. So with more Amazon devices are using Bing to power them up, as well as all of the new desktops come with Microsoft Edge, which is powered by Bing instead of Google, and the threat that Microsoft had against the Chrome browser a month or so ago. We started testing Bing ads, and we're getting some nice traffic from them as well. So we've shifted some of the Facebook advertising into the Bing advertising.
Got it. Yeah, that's really interesting. I've heard from a number of people that Bing is kind of an underutilized channel, so that's definitely something for people to look at.
Yeah.
Raheem, one other thing, I know you'd mentioned before a little bit about the retargeting efforts you're doing. I was curious if you wanted to speak to that for a second.
Sure. Yeah, we're doing retargeting on Facebook. Again, when customers land on your website, and we noticed that there was a majority of customers would land on the website and then they would move off it. They would bounce off. So we would collect, with Facebook, we're able to retarget. We can put a Facebook pixel on your website. So every customer that bounces off, you can actually remarket them, retarget them on Facebook. You can put your ad in front of them over and over again, trying to get them to divert them back to your website and finish that conversion. And we're noticing that 70% of the people that you retarget, they've already visited your website, they already know you, so they're more likely to convert and they come back. And the cost per click, of course, goes down because you're not going out and just doing a basic ad on Facebook where you're just, you're putting out a broad spectrum. And, storage is something that you can't create a need for. It's already there and you're sort of trying to fix it, right? So when you just do a broad spectrum ad on Facebook where you're just hitting everybody that's in a 3-mile radius, the cost per click goes up, versus somebody that you already identified there's a need because they came to your website. And then when you retarget those folks, then your cost per click is of course down because you already know there's a need and there's more likely to convert. So we have done that. And, just with Facebook, one of the things that we've done is we've sort of gone away from being a vendor to maybe becoming more of a resource for customers. So, during this whole COVID, we've noticed that about 60% of our customers are coming through social media. As you're working from home, folks are, spending more and more time on social media, different social media aspects. So what we have designed at Devon is we've designed a whole platform now on a weekly basis, about 4 times a week. We are active on all the different platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Posts, Pinterest. So we, on different days, we put different messages on the website trying to direct and help a customer out. At Devon, we know that life happens, and we're looking to how we can add value to a customer so they can, manage their items that they're looking to store. How can they organize it? And that way they can go back to doing what they need to do. And, so one thing that we're doing on Saturdays is Saturdays is usually the big move day, right? So we give different tips on how to make your move smoother. So, this was the post that we had from last Saturday. On Tuesdays, we do, a review. We share one of a good 5-star review that we've gotten from a customer. And we share that on all the social media platforms so customers can get comfortable and try to understand what kind of team that they're joining when they do store their items at Devon. On Wednesday, we share a blog article on how to manage their items and how to get over the COVID scare and how to make their life easier in the COVID lifetime. And then on Friday, right before the move happens, we share a different special with our customers on different days.
Got it. Yeah, that's really great, and good to see that you can kind of take the do good and helpful approach and actually have it drive business too, which is pretty amazing. And just real quick, how much of this, Raheem, do you think is the new normal versus just stuff you're going to be doing through COVID, however long this lasts?
Yeah, I think, again, one of the things that we learned early on is it takes about 40 days to build a habit. And at this point, we're way past those 40 days. So we've sort of trained our customers on a whole new way of doing things. And I think going back to the old way is going to be extremely hard, even if one of the cures comes out or whatever. I think, every time somebody touches a door, every time somebody shakes somebody's hand, you're touching different things, at a restaurant. You always have that scare in your head, right? So I don't know when we go back to the old way of doing things, but this is a new normal. We need, there's a big disruptor that has already come through, and we need to get back, we need to make sure that our operations is designed and is moving in that direction and answering those questions for our customers.
Yep, I tend to agree with you. Melissa, how about on your side? What are some of the kind of more unique changes you've done, and what do you think about those being permanent?
Yeah, I think Matt has a link here, and one of the things that we've done is we've took the facility map and we put it online. So if you think about how you choose your concert seats or those kind of things that no one has done in the past couple of months, you can now choose your storage unit just like you would that. So you can scroll and you can see which units are vacant, and then if you click on one of the shaded vacant units, you can rent right from the map, and it tells you all about that unit, the features. You can reserve and move in right there. So it's been interesting to see. I don't think the normal storage customer is ready to do this or understands exactly what it means that your unit is in this particular spot within the facility. But again, that's on us to start educating as well through different things on our website. This is something that we think going into like the new normal of everyone wanting to do everything online is going to be very helpful and generate some rentals.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I will admit, this is something that I've always thought would be a killer new feature to have since I've been in self-storage, which is a while back now. And so it's really exciting to see you guys actually doing it here. And shameless plug for Storable, of course, this map is powered by the SiteLink API through your own website, which is awesome. So all you SiteLink customers out there can go do this. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's something. And then also because of the contactless rentals and the customers not coming into the facility, the other thing that we're doing is starting to sell merchandise during the online rental process. So Matt's showing you the video that we did there, but so while someone is actually in the online rental process, they can choose the merchandise they need. So this takes a little bit of setting the expectations with the customers though, right? Because if they rent after office hours, making sure that they know that the boxes aren't just going to show up in their unit overnight, but making sure that we're communicating with the tenant that they'll get the boxes. If they rent during office hours, our manager can go and put them right in their unit for them. So again, it's that contactless experience where they don't have to come into the office. We're providing, the merchandise right to their unit for them.
That's fantastic. And so how are you guys educating? I mean, I think you've explained a bit how you're educating the customers on these new ways of engaging and doing business, but how about your internal teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so again, like making, the videos that we would use to the customers, making them a little bit more internal, having the store managers, even our call center, providing them to them so they can be able to help the customers after hours a little bit more. But yeah, a lot of this is just training, communicating with the field staff, and having that great relationship between, marketing and operations, and being able, and the training department to be able to do that.
That makes sense. Raheem, how about you guys?
Yeah, same thing. We have done different videos to share with our team. We also have a weekly webinar with our team on a regular basis. We have a corporate trainer that does different videos for our team that we share and we learn. We also do different manager classes on a regular basis for the new people coming on board, trying to get them to understand the different changes that the industry is going through. Especially with COVID, as you said, right? Some of the post-COVID stuff is, I think there's a big shift in the customer traffic that's coming in. Prior, we had almost, 60% of the customers would be walk-in traffic. And now you're seeing that a lot of those customers are coming through the website, or at least through a lead from online, right? So it's a different interaction. You want to make sure that your team knows how to interact with these customers over a phone. They know how to connect with their customer, how to interact with the customer, how to engage with the customer, what questions to ask. We don't want to be the same thing as, Joe Storage down the street. We want to make sure that we differentiate ourselves. So there's a lot of focus on how to add those skill sets and train our team to engage with those customers, from that first phone call. And then how do you continue to connect with that customer on an ongoing basis, especially if we're going to be doing a lot of these things over the phone, where it's no contact.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. And at Storable, we've utilized a lot of video stuff too. Obviously, it's different. We don't have field operations like you guys, but just making videos that you send to your team or a subset of your team, it's just such a good way of communicating. Definitely encourage others who haven't done that yet to do it. And then finally, before we get to Q&A, one thing that we've noticed on the SquareFoot side of things is just the surprisingly high amount of consumer demand volume that's been coming through in the last few months. Do you guys feel like that is just a kind of pent up demand from earlier months when things were more shut down and we're just getting it, but it's going to be temporary, or is there some sort of bigger shift going on here where we're going to see increased self-storage demand for a long time?
Now, if you go back to 2000, 2008, 2007, 2008, you sort of saw something very similar, right? Is that whenever there's a change, storage industry sort of explodes. And I think we're seeing the same thing. When the going is good, people are getting promoted. They're moving, they're getting new jobs, and that increases the need for storage. When things are going bad and people are working from home, we're noticing that they need to create more space now at home because both the husband and wife are working from home. They're turning their second, third bedroom into an office space. They need to get all that stuff out of their houses. People are, we're actually noticing that in house sales, sales for bigger houses is actually going up because people need that extra space. So, again, going back to it being a resource, one of the things we've been focusing on is how do you make your office at home, how do you take advantage of that? Where do you move all your stuff? How do you go about doing that? How do you become productive? So we've sort of been able to do that, but at the same time, that's where you're seeing a lot of that flood coming in from. You're also noticing that businesses, as we get into this deeper into Q4, you're going to see a lot of these businesses closing down. And, that's also creating demand because now they have to take their stuff from their closed businesses and put that into storage with the hopeful plan that in the future they can get back into their business again.
Right. Yep, that makes sense. Melissa, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything Raheem said. And the one thing that he alluded to was, moving was always the number one need for storage, and in our data it still is, but excess stuff is creeping up in that list. So last month as well, we did a blog about how to use storage to create a home gym or a home office. So that same content that we're doing as well, just to drive that too, as we see that excess stuff becomes more of a reason for storing.
Interesting. So it seems like so long as people keep moving, which it seems like they are, and we have other drivers like needing to create space within your own home, we could see an elevated, or at least, positive year-over-year consumer demand situation for a while longer. It's really good. Okay, great. Melissa, Raheem, that was amazing. Let's go ahead and take some questions. Matt, have any come in?
Yeah, we got a couple. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. So Melissa, I'm going to go to you first. There was a question that came in about the map usage on your website. And just generally, if you have any indicators of just kind of how consumers are responding to that, like, is that driven demand for you guys?
Yeah, I don't think it's driven demand. I think is right now it's just a nice feature that customers can use. Honestly, it's a little too new for us to tell, is it really driving demand? And we haven't done the advertising on that. As you can see, that was a drive-up facility. That map is a little bit easier to use than maybe an interior facility. So trying to flesh out how, an interior facility will look in that map setting is something that we're working on. But it has received clicks and it has received rentals from that map.
That's awesome. Very good. Raheem, I'll throw this one to you then. We had one more and then we'll head out for the day. You mentioned just kind of this concept of, there are still people coming to the facility, and how do you create a safe, experience there? What happens in particular if you have somebody who is coming up that is, what would normally be walk-in traffic, right? They have not seen any of your videos, or they haven't been to your website, and they have no expectations, and they're just coming in to rent a unit. How have you guys kind of handled that situation?
Yeah, I mean, in most of the cases, our offices are open, but in some cases where we are having to close down offices because of regulations and, the increase of spread, we're in the process of testing out curbside rentals, where a customer comes to the office in the parking spot, parks their vehicle there, stays in their vehicle, and then communicates with the manager over the phone and does the whole online rental. And then the manager goes, opens the unit, and they move in. We're in the early phase of testing that out, so it's still a work in progress.
Very good. Melissa, did you have anything else you wanted to add along the same lines of that question?
No, just we also have signs on our door about how we're cleaning the office in between customers coming in. If the office, most of our offices are open, we are in most cases still having just one customer at a time in the office, and then cleaning, but just having that signage on the door to explain that as well, and educating the managers too, to make sure that everyone is kept safe too.
Great. All right, guys. Well, thank you. That was really, really fantastic content. Appreciate you putting the time in to prepare some of that stuff and to join us for today. So Matt, we'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Yeah, thank you guys. That was incredibly valuable. Before I let everybody go, though, one quick reminder. I just wanted to walk back over our webinar series at a glance. So just as a reminder, in 2 weeks, we are going to be launching the next chapter of our 4 Operator Imperatives webinar series. And specifically, it's on a conversation of rethinking your tenant experience. And so we're going to be, discussing all of the tools and best practices that you have available to you to meet those, rapidly evolving needs of your customers as they shift more and more towards these digital experiences. And so we're excited to have that conversation. But that does conclude today's webinar. So there were a few questions we did not get a chance to get to, but don't worry, we have your email address, so we will follow up with you directly in the next week or so, and we will chase down some answers for you. But if you guys do have any other questions that come up after we conclude today's webinar, if you send an email to webinars@storable.com, we will also get back to you as soon as we possibly can. But to all of you guys out there, stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks for our next webinar. So thanks for attending, and have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Get the power to do more with Storable websites. More marketing, more engagement, more customers moving into your facility. Storable helps operators do more with the most powerful technology in self-storage. Learn more at storable.com/do more.